basically. So, going to now draw, well, paint this out. So what I usually do is start with acrylic paint, do a couple of layers in acrylic, and then maybe do oil if I want, or if it's going my way and the acrylic's working okay, then I carry on with acrylic. So there's no hard and fast rule. But basically I'll just look at that shape and just try and paint the shapes as I see them, and hopefully it will look like now. Does the rain look like a rain? So I've got 4 colours here. So looking at the picture there, I thought I'd use buff titanium, which is like a sort of creamy white colour. Beige. That's my favourite colour. It is. Houses in the 80s. More umber, some pale umber, and titanium white. So we'll keep it nice and limited in colours. So I'm just going to use an old bristle brush for the first few layers. So get the drawing on by using the darkest colour first. So roughly. So when I'm painting, I always just like to get a rough outline of what I'm painting. Because don't forget, we need to get the big shapes right, and then the smaller shapes take care of themselves. If you get all the small shapes right, that they're in the wrong places, that's when you run into problems with your proportions. So it's big shapes first, going down to the small shapes. So all I'm doing is looking at the outline of this bird and thinking, right, that's it. I'm not worrying about every change of angle. I'm just concentrating on that big shape there. Yes, it's going to be the tree here. Did everyone manage to have a look at the paintings during the break? You all had a good touch of them? So I'll have to get my duster out tomorrow and make sure the fingerprints are. So, right, let's see, there we go. So now we've got to work out roughly the shape of its head. And the shape of its wings. And you will find with this, when you put the texture on, that sometimes the texture, you can't see where your lines are because they're disappearing into the textural elements. That doesn't matter. You're just going to build it up slowly, so don't worry about that. Oh, we've got what's that? Cocktail with tomato juice? Bloody Mary. There we go. That's up to Lillian for you. Right, let's put some of the creamy colour in, or the beige. So this is where you can be quite thick now with the paint.
get that in. And you can get the brush right in these corrugated elements if you want to. You see how it's now highlighting some of the textural areas as well. That wing sort of comes up there. A little bit up here. There. It's there. Let's get some white on now. I've also got two types of white in my palette, in my box there. But I'm only using titanium white tonight. But there's a mixing white as well, which is a softer, so it's like a zinc white. Yeah. Now, I've heard a lot of things online. You see a lot of people arguing with whether you should use zinc white these days because it's archival or not. As far as I'm concerned, if you buy a reputable brand like Winsor & Newton, there shouldn't be any problems with zinc white not being archival because they test it and they make sure it's archival. So even no matter what you might hear on the internet or on YouTube, and there are some artists who say, "Oh, I'm never use zinc white," particularly in order.
Why haven't you used it? I've never used it.
It's a softer white, basically.
Oh,
It's not as astringent as titanium white. Titanium white's so sort of dense and chalky. But if you mix mixing white and titanium white, you get like a flake white or a lead white, as it used to be known. So a softer white again, and it actually kind of mixes the two together, and you get a softer white that's not so sort of strong as titanium white would be on its own. So mixing white that kind of counterbalances the titanium white.
Okay.
So it's just something to bear. I mean, it's more in oil painting that I think the issue arises, because I don't think they use zinc in the acrylic paints.
It's just the name.
It's the name, yeah. It's a softer white, basically. So it's less. It doesn't look as strong as titanium white does. Right. So let's get the basic element of his beak in. So I had a lot of people ask me during the interval, would I necessarily know what I'm going to paint on these canvases when I'm preparing them? The answer is sometimes, and other times no. So I might prepare a few of these, and what the point of this is basically when you get those days when you think, I really want to do some painting, I really want to put paint on and muck about, but you think, yeah, but what am I going to paint? We'll get a few canvases out. Just do this, Crackle, it just frees you up. Because you can let them dry overnight, come back to it the next day, put the colour on, put the gesso on. It's just those times when you feel not quite in the mood for sitting down making your gesso, and you want something just to loosen up. And also by loosening up, it relaxes you, and then you'll suddenly find that 6 hours have gone by and you've made a nice painting anyway. So, but you stop putting pressure on yourself to create that masterpiece that we all do. We all put pressure on ourselves. I said to one person in the interval that I had that at the beginning of this year because I signed up to do a course to improve my portraiture painting with a very prominent artist up in Crystal Palace called Charlie Pickard, and it stopped me painting for nearly a month because I just got kind of the jitters, So, and then when I did this for catering at the end of January, I just thought, oh, maybe why not? Because it freed me up a bit. So I wasn't concerned about what I was doing. So a bit more titanium white on. So already, you see, all I'm doing is just putting base colours on. And I can put his foot
in there. This is where I sound like Bob Ross when I start talking about foot. I put his foot in there. Put my foot in it. Yeah, there we go. There we are. More like there. More like there. Well, let's get his eye in. Brown. And that's that. I always do this. Always try and keep one pot for dirty water and end up with both of them going mucky. Same in watercolour. Right, it's got a bit of a pale umber in.
You want some more clean water and you're right there.
Yeah, it's fine. A bit dirty water never hurt anyone. That's it. Shadow there. I'm just going to start creating a bit more of the shape of these wings. And it's just mixing the colours, really. Let's get some of the branching. There we go. Sorry?
Where do you exhibit your work?
Wherever I want. So, I belong to 3 art groups in the area. So, Corrugated Art Society, which I've only just become a member of, sort of end of last year. The old Cornerstone Art Club, which is, unfortunately, meets the same night as you on Thursday. And this is our half-term break week, which is how I was able to do the demo tonight. Usually Thursday nights I'm up there painting away. And Catering Art Group, which meets once a month on a Wednesday night. So, and I've been a member of those two since 2018 when I came back to painting. There we go. So I'm just building up the shape. You can't really see very well on there, can you? On the screen, but you can hopefully see it here. I'm trying not to get too much in the way of it. So I'm just looking at these shapes. And hopefully you can kind of see what it is. As you can see, I'm being quite loose with the paintbrush and quite loose with the marks at the moment. Because all I'm doing is now covering that texture with some paint so I can work out where things go. What I need is a bit more orangey colour, so I need a bit of my burnt sienna. And I'm not using a very elaborate palette. An M&S screen on the top.
Oh, this is M&S.
Well, it is M&S.
That might be a little rubbish.
You know, Lidl's quality is almost as good as M&S. The only reason I buy M&S is my ex-partner used to work for them and we got used to the taste of the food. Got two?
Two little bits and something, one at the bottom, one at the top.
They might call someone.
There's three in Croydon, I think.
Where?
Three at least.
In Croydon.
Yeah. There's one in the town centre, there's one on the Hurley Way, and there's one out by Selhurst.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well,
And there's a new one opened up in Cajun as well.
then I was good saying this one.
It's the light, I think, it's causing a bit too much contrast.
Do you think?
That's better.
So,
Yeah.
can you still see what you're doing?
Yeah. There we go. Touch of that mixed with that to create a lighter version. Put that down there. Darker there. And I'm just using that photograph as kind of a bit of reference, but I'm not worrying about copying everything exactly. As I said, it's all about getting those big shapes in to start with.
Yeah.
Then you can refine them and get more detailed. But use a big brush,
Yeah.
to start with. Get the big shapes in with big brushes. Don't be precious about it. It needs to be whiter than that. That's standing out in the wrong way. That's better. There we go. Yeah. Hooks with talons. And Because sometimes I find when you're trying to paint on the texture, because there's so much texture underneath, you can't get a good clean edge. That's great, because then you just stop worrying about it.
It's painting's fault.
Exactly. You blame the painting, not your tools.
Yeah.
I'll just try and brighten that bit up there. There. Bit of white in the tail. Down here. So of course with acrylics you could use a hairdryer. I've never used a hairdryer on acrylics. I always let them dry naturally. But then I prefer to do that with watercolour as well. But I know if you're in a hurry, you want to move things along. But just remember, if you are using a hairdryer, don't do it too close to the painting because it's going to move all the paint away. Unless you want that, of course. If you want the paint to be going over here, well, it's still there.
Never know what you're going to get.
Exactly. Right, let's get some dark blobs on for the pattern in those wings. So I've moved to a smaller brush now. So you are allowed to use smaller brushes, don't have to use big brushes all the time. Just you should always use the biggest brush that you can possibly manage, rather than always going for the smallest brush that you can find. And I think the trouble is we learn that when we're beginning to paint, that we sort of reach for that small brush because we're afraid of making a mess with the big brush. And then we get into a habit of always going for the small brushes. Yeah, and you use them like pencils, and you hold them down here. This has got a long handle. You want to be holding a brush like that. That's what it's designed to be held.
Yeah.
You know, it's weighted like that. You feel a big difference. And that frees your strokes up as well. Because you can put, if you want, you can put your whole body into it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. My tendency is I like to sit down when I'm painting because I want to relax. But I sit down in a high chair in front of an easel and then I can wheel it back and go, all right, that's fine. Take photographs of the painting as well because that creates distance.
Oh, I agree.
So that gives you the distance as if you're all looking at it in a gallery. Yeah, so you can see the mistakes quicker.
There, let's take a picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
See something.
Yeah.
Within our
So you can see more clearly when there's something looks a bit off. Especially if you have your head stuck in the picture while you're painting it. And you pull it back and you go, oh, didn't do all right. We've all done it. We've all done it. You know, it's that old saying about not being able to see the wood for the trees. You concentrate so much on one tree, you come back and go, well, where's the rest of it? So just going to some of this. Good. Highlight there.
That's the cloud. Painted, of course.
Another thing I quite like to advocate is working mid-tone to stretch your values out. So you don't start with your brightest brights and your darkest darks. You start with something in the middle and you stretch outwards towards the darkest parts and the lightest parts. That way you keep your values close together and you don't suddenly go shooting off in one direction. I have a tendency to do that myself, so I have to kind of watch what I'm doing.
You should aware of it.
Yes.
Stop the car.
Because I like my contrast between light and dark, you see. Right, so, oh, picture's vanished. Very good. Let's do that. I'm also looking at direction that light's moving in. I'm trying to paint that now. So, kind of semi-sculpting the form rather than just putting paint on. So I think if your brush strokes can convey the sense of the form, that's where you get movement and sort of fluidity to your painting. There we go. And I'm just using the paint quite thickly now, just straight from the tube, no water. Damp to my brush, just so it's got a bit of flexibility in it, it's not too hard. But I'm just using the tube paint now. And of course with acrylics, the more you layer on, the more blend you get from painting on. So, can you see that there? Not too bad, is it? Looks like an apple, doesn't it? Hopefully.
It's very atmospheric.
Yeah. So that would be my first pass on the acrylic. And then what I would do is probably do a second pass and just tighten it up a bit more, make it a bit more realistic. And then if I wanted to, I would then do oils on top to create a much more realistic approach. So it would end up something like that. So, all this on.
They're kind of three-dimensional.
Yeah.
me to thank you so much for this evening. Absolutely fascinating. And I would certainly take home one or two little things I've learned from here tonight, and I'm sure the rest of you will too. So, shall I appreciate no idea how it would turn out. All right. Okay.
So just have fun with it. That's really the message. Those days when you think, ooh, yes, did you have a question? No. Oh, yeah. So those days when you just feel like, oh, what should I do? Grab your paints, do something.
Oh, okay.
You know, if you have a few canvases one day, and you walk, and have them ready.
Is that the...
So that's got the greens and yellows and reds. But I thought that would work for us.
Yeah,
It's got opens, it's got umbers, sap green, olive green,
Oh, yeah.
light blues.
Yeah, that doesn't do it
Paint
justice,
like
does it?
that. Sometimes you use the towel to take the paint off
It
and
is.
then dry paint
That is
lace
really-
through.
Yeah.
So you get layers. So if I put more
Balance.
paint on
Yeah.
when I get home, that will then, I can then use the towel and take some, and then those colours come down.
Yeah.
Just realised there's a paint on the floor. Too happy with the church. So the other thing, nothing stays.
Oh, no.
So all these panels
You put that in a little plastic bag now. Yeah, and then you peel it off.
Waste not.
an extra texture. No, not true.
Yeah, I think every month maybe or every couple of months.
Yeah, well,